Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today something really nice, a freeware of a Metroliner, Fairchild Metroliner 3 in X-Plane, by the way, in XP11, and I also made it work in XP12. It's a freeware packet that's on the forum, xplane.org. I will add the links to the descriptions for, I think it's about 2 years or so, two and a half years, seen from now. The aircraft is actually an XP11 design, and there had been several mods in XP11 that would improve this even further. Also, an F-mod sound can be downloaded from Flight Sim Plus, FLT Sim Plus, I think it's called. And obviously a number of liveries. In XP12, things didn't immediately work 100%. There were some strange effects, but I managed to get window effects and things like that to get them out and make this aircraft also flyable, at least from a visual point of view, in XP12. It looks like the engines are okay. They all seem to work, they seem to start. I didn't have any really odd things. There are some things in there that don't work 100%, but these are all small things, and they didn't stop me from doing a live stream flight in German. Since then I have tweaked a little bit more on this aircraft, and what you see here now is the current work in progress on me making this Metroliner an even better freeware with lots of features, including an Avitab integration. They're all out there as individual packages, but I kind of combined them. I have that on my GitHub, and eventually when it's finished I will probably wrap it up in a zip file, and you can then get a modification zip file that you can put on top of the original freeware zip file. Anyway, very nice aircraft. Look at this. We are talking freeware modeling here. And not only that, you have a passenger version. In this case, it's the Pen Air. Pen Air used to be an Alaskan, I think, local airline. Let me quickly switch the view here. I think from Alaska. And now look at some of the details which you really have to appreciate. See this here. When you open the cargo door, there is a little pull string here that you can use to pull down on the and get it closed again. I actually just discovered this. I didn't see this in my last stream. I haven't actually realized this is so cool. The bear, being part of the Pen Air livery. Very nice. Pen Air used to have Saab 340s and Metroliner. So not sure if they still exist, and I'm pretty sure that they might not be flying with the Metro anymore. I'm not sure how many active in-service Metroliners there still are. Probably have to check on the internet. Forgot to do that actually. And this is a weird looking aircraft when you look at it from the front. It looks a bit like a bird. And it is a very long stretched narrow body kind of design. Not very comfortable. There's a single rows left and a single row right. It's not exactly the most comfortable aircraft, especially for large people, like in height or long legs and things like that. They also have, this is the kind of a baggage cart, yeah, which you can turn on in the passenger version. There is a cargo version, which basically replaces the seats with a cargo inside. I did do this in my German stream, but here for the English video I decided to use the passenger version, which is based on the same models principally, but there are some actual visible differences. Yeah, again, here the cargo compartment is separate from the passengers, and you can have up to 1,150 pounds of cargo, and then passengers would enter the aircraft here. And now look at this. This is the cockpit. This is the cabin. This is the propellers, the engines, the shining effect, which I think always comes through a bit better in XP12. Okay, flicker, forget it. Eventually, I hope we won't see flicker anymore, but the design is actually superb. And look at that. Yeah, you can actually move the... You have to click in the direction you want to move it. It's also very interesting approach. And then you can put it out the way here. Absolutely really well done. And this cockpit has a very high fidelity feeling, because when you compare it with a photo from the real thing, yes, you can see that it is something drawn, but the quality of the cockpit design, in my view, is so really well done. Absolutely amazing. Yeah. There's even an Avitab integration. There you can see some of the problems with the anti-aliasing, but still it's great that we have the option of actually loading. In this case it's Navigraph charts, because I've set up Avitab to include the charts, so we can then call up the chart here for Stuttgart. It's a bit better to read when you go into the night mode here, and you can see where we are currently standing here in Stuttgart. This is actually where I wanted to be. And when you take this in XP11, you also have some window effects and rain effects and things like that. There are some things I had to actually take out, so I actively edited the aircraft configuration file to make this work, because yeah, it wouldn't work. The windscreens, there were some strange shadows on it too, so I had to actually take them out. That's why there is no glass effect. You don't really see it, and at night it's actually better because you don't get reflections to disturb. But that was the kind of price you have to pay when you run this in XP12, because XP12 does things that are not compatible with everything that the XP11 version does. But it can be fixed, and yeah, I'm still kind of working on optimizing. So how do we get this up again? I don't know. Nope, that's not what I wanted. It's a bit weird. Because I don't seem to get the arrow up here. Ah, with the mouse wheel you can actually move it. Ha! Interesting. Alright, now there's a little menu. So by the way, if you use these buttons here, it kind of shifts you between the first officer and the captain's position. There is this little menu. You can activate a ground power, and you can close the main door. And the F mode that we have actually is quite loud. So the internal sounds here at the airport are a little bit more than I would like. So I think I'm going to change the sound settings very quickly. Bring back the aircraft interior. Yeah, you can bring up an autopilot sub panel here, and you can also switch and bring up the GPS instead of the nav1 com1 unit, which is very handy because this is the only way of having other than radio navigation, pure net radio navigation. You can do away with the yokes here, and here you have all the switches. So I'm going to close all doors now. Yeah, and the sound is not perfect. It's a little bit too much ambient noise in the cockpit. Shouldn't really be like this. But yeah, oops. Now this is ATC. So let me see if environmental. Let's see if that can be brought down a bit. Yeah, I think that's the environmental. Let me bring this down further. Yeah, that's okay. So that's the little menu that you can bring up. Yeah, I do have an next checklist, which should help me to start up this aircraft. When you look at it for the first time, yeah, it is a little bit confusing. There isn't really much up here, so we don't need to look up very often. But most of the stuff is here on the side, here on the middle column, and all these switches here and instruments here. All right. Book flight in your airline, I suppose. Sound levels, check. Right, parking brake is on. By the way, the parking brake is that red thing down there. Landing gear is down. Yeah, as I said, it can be a little bit... here. Here's the indication for the landing gear. And the landing gear lever is here. It's this one here. Here we have a warning system. You can even do a test. Nose wheel steering off. Nose wheel steering is here, and it's actually not called nose wheel steering, but it's called nose gear steering. And you would bring it into the off position. The lamp should go out. If it's green, then the nose wheel steering is on. Power or GPU or battery. So we've connected the external power, but we should also activate the batteries. So I'm bringing the two batteries into the on position. On, in this case, is up. Engine stop feather both in. Engine stop feather both in. That's this here. Or, here. No, engine stop feather. It's this one here. They need to be pushed in. These big red buttons. Fuel shutoffs open. The fuel shutoffs are here. Okay, and you need to bring them. The click spots are sometimes a little bit difficult, but you get used to it. Fuel shutoffs open. Hydraulic shut off both open. It's these here, and again you bring them up into the open position. Annunciators considered and tested. You look at them. Low suction, GPU plug-in. Transfer pumps are off. AC bus. No steer fail. Yeah, because we turned it off as well. Left and right gen fail. No pressure. Then you can do the test, and then you make also sure that the radar is turned off. All right, now let's do a flight plan. We're flying from EDDS to EDDM, the usual route. I'm not sure which of those really works, but we shall try and see. So EDDS, Uptal, Magat, EDDM, perfect. That's all we need. What I can do now is I can go into procedures and select the departure, enter, and it's Uptal for hotel. Enter, enter, and now we also have the intermediate waypoints until Uptal. I'm not going to put in an arrival because from Magat we are going to take over with the ILS. That's all we need. And hang on. Yeah, here it is. This is our graphic representation, and we have set up our flight. 1250, so yeah, it's standard atmosphere as usual. The flight altitude can be dialed. Yeah, can be dialed in. You can also use the mouse and stay on the left mouse button, but you can see you will have to try and hit the altitude. There's an altitude alerter with the standard autopilot functionality will also work, and I just reminded now that I have to start my MobiFlight. I use MobiFlight to program my Bravo throttle and alpha yoke. In this case, I'm not using the alpha yoke. But for that, just to show you, I need to load the X-Plane profile. I have an XP12 profile, which I can start, and then that includes also the lights on the Bravo. So I've programmed lights and switches to work for X-Plane and also for MSFS. It's not ideal, the solution, but it's working for me. Okay, so let's continue. Fuel required. So fuel you can check here. And this is one of my mods, because the X-Plane 11 version will not give you cargo, and so the only thing it will show you is the fuel weight, and that was also not quite right. So the whole center of gravity was completely off. So I did some modifications in the PlaneMaker to kind of make this work. And so when I switch over here, and you can now try and get the center of gravity roughly in the middle, which is fine. And so our payload at the moment is 958 kilograms. I also use the maximum fuel and payload numbers that I found in documentations. And I also made sure that we have 2 zones. Well, it's called default cargo 4 and default cargo aft. That basically includes the passengers. So you can roughly set up the weight and balance it out so that it is more or less reasonably in the middle. The center of gravity is not too far off left or right. And then the fuel, there's a maximum of something like, was it something like 1,000 kilo or so? But that should give us enough flight time for our tour here. 494 is currently in there. Maybe for good measures, we're going to use roughly half the tank. So it's actually 2,000 kilograms. Yeah, that we can load. So we have now about 500 kilograms in each tank. And because I run it through the XP12 PlaneMaker, this is the XP12 version. My mod you cannot use in XP11, but you don't really have to. I mean, you can mod the XP11 version with all the mods that are out there, and they will work on XP11 immediately. It's just when you want to use it in XP12, some tweaking has to be done in the PlaneMaker, and I think I got that reasonably right. So also engines and engine parameters seem to work reasonably okay. I'm not an expert in the Metroliner, so I don't know if my mods really work out, but they are reasonable. They seem to work reasonably. Apply the change. Good. Fuel required is checked. Fuel loaded. Yes. Departure briefing. Well, that's the usual. We fly out from runway 07, follow straight on to Abtal, and then return right towards Magat. Half the way between Abtal and Magat, we go for the descent. That's it. Flight briefing, departure briefing, done. Flight director switch on. So now I have to remember where that was. I don't think there was a flight director switch. So the checklist is not always accurate. There is no flight director switch, at least none that I found. Don't look at the shadows. Yeah, awful stuff. But when you turn on the autopilot and turn it off again, by the way, the park brake just disconnected, then the flight director will come on. And so that's what I do, is I quickly cycle the autopilot, and then the flight director is actually turned on, and we can actually see it here. Power levers to ground idle. Yeah, so what you can see here is ground idle. Now again, I use the full axis range of my throttle levers to bring it from full to ground idle, and I use the buttons on the Bravo to trigger a continuous throttle down command, which then pulls the levers into the reverse position, and the reverse is relatively effective. I did tweak it a little bit also in the PlaneMaker, and when you bring it back into the 0 position, you are back on ground idle. So that seems to work quite well. Yep. Again, I needed to tweak this a little bit because, yeah, XP 11 and 12 are not exactly compatible with these things. Propeller levers both low RPM. That's these here. So we'll have to bring them into the low RPM setting for the start. Trim set for takeoff. Yeah, you basically look here and you bring it. I don't have any numbers, so I couldn't tell you. It has to be in the green, and it looks like tendency is to trim slightly aft. But since we are roughly in the middle with our center of gravity, I kind of leave it where it is at the moment because it seems to be okay. So if you have a more aft pointing center of gravity, then you would bring that one down like this. If you have a more forward leaning center of gravity, you bring it up. We are roughly in the middle, so I guess this is probably a good position. Now again, I'm guessing here. There is a documentation, by the way. Imagine freeware and documentation. Unbelievable. It's really well done, this thing. I'm so completely... I love this thing here. And now that I got it working even better in XP12, well, we shall see how well my mods do work, but I'm pretty convinced they will work okay. Seatbelts, if I remember correctly, they're down here somewhere, or maybe not. Windshield wipers, lights, oh, maybe they were, oh, I don't know, I think they were on this side. So no smoking and seatbelt signs on. The checklist doesn't always get it. Now it got it. The avionics master is on. The inverter. You see most of these switches are actually coded. Again, freeware. Yeah. Pressurization set. Well, you can actually change the carbon altitude. I leave it at 7,500, and you can do something here at the rate. I'm not sure how that will work out then, but chances are it does some kind of basic standard way of pressure cabin thing. Pressurization. Then the bleeds off. The bleeds are here, and they need to go down to the down position. Doors are closed and safe. Rotating beacon. So the rotating beacon is on my side again. It's here. By the way, there are two switches at night. If you want the logo lights on, you would turn on the rotating beacon with the logo lights. Then nav lights on. Again, nav lights and nav light strobes. Later on we'll use the upper position, but at the moment I just turn on the nav lights by bringing the switch down. And the ice lights on, not sure why we would do this during the day. Okay, yeah, done. Now comes the engine start, which is relatively easy. You have these buttons here. I hope I didn't forget anything important. Right engine start switch hold and check when N1 is above 51%. There we may see, I'm not sure if my last changes did improve on that, but yep, this with the 50% might not work out, we'll see. Right engine start switch release and generator right on. So let's do that. I press on the right. So I still, because I realized when you let loose, but you can see N1 isn't quite where it should be. It says here it is above 51, but that's not corroborated by the instruments, so may still be some discrepancies here. But the engines are starting. And look at the quality of these instruments. Absolutely fantastic. So when it looks like the engine has kind of stabilized itself, we can turn on the right generator. Oops, I think we are moving. Ooh. Hello? I think the park brake went off again. That's something I realized. The park brake tends to disconnect. And because we have our right engine running, that's why we got pushed now towards the left. Oh, the luggage is still there. Let me quickly clean up the outside. Baggage cart gone. Oh, okay. Now let's do the left engine. And you can see the N1 RPM or the RPM value is quite slow, and it's nowhere near 51. But you can see how it slowly but surely then climbs. Oh, hang on, I need to put it into low. So I'm now waiting that the engines stay in the green. Everything looks okay. So I now can turn on the left generator. Now let's quickly check. So EGG is full in the green. Torque is full in the green. I'm not sure how accurate those things are. Here we have still a slight discrepancy, but as far as I have seen now, this is slowly but surely increasing until it reaches around 60 in the current position. That means idle, ground idle thrust. And here's our fuel flow, which is under 100 pounds per hour. This is pounds per hour, not kilogram. And then we have here the that must be the oil temperature, which is a little bit still in the yellow. No. See, the park brake has disconnected again. I'm not sure why that is. Something really weird, but the park brake keeps disconnecting. You need to be aware of that. And pressure, oil pressure, being in the green on both. You can but see now that the temperature is slowly rising. So I guess the longer the engines run, the better. Outside temperature is about 12 degrees. It's our fuel quantity here. Right, external power disconnect. You can do that here with the menu that I can call up again, and then finally disconnect the ground power unit. And the outside is actually quite loud, so I'm going to bring this down. Look, see this? The park brake disconnected again. Something very weird. I wonder if one of my views is causing this. Maybe there's a wrong programming. I don't know. I have no idea why it disconnects. Okay, now window heat. Windshield into high. Ice protection as required. We don't require ice protection today. Speed box. Look at this. This is a weight related speed and speed card. And it means that we have a rotation speed of 101 knots with 13,000 pounds that we have at the moment. Look, I think we are disconnected again. See this? What the heck is that? we've already moved away from our position here. Well, speed back. So what you can do is there's only one speed back, and you could put the speed back to the well, I would put it actually on the V2. Around 110, and we're going to rotate around 100 knots. Instrument checked. So let's quickly dial in all the right directions and stuff. If you have the honeycomb, you can use all the knobs. Yeah, so let me quickly dial in the heading 072. You can also do this on the instrument. By the way, it also has this here, distance. Here you can also change the heading. Altitude we've already set, at least our altitude goal. This is the DME readout for VOR1. We are on GPS mode, which means that when we use the nav mode of the autopilot, we can follow. By the way, this is here as well. So here you can switch which of the navigation sources the autopilot should take. Now, boost pumps left and right. Where are the boost pumps? I think they are somewhere here. Where's the boost? Ah, no, hang on. I think they're down here. Yeah. Boost pumps left and right. Be careful not to hit this one here, because your engine will be off. Nose wheel steering armed. Flaps 1/4 set, so it's basically flaps position 1. Yeah, 1/4. And then comes the before taxi checklist. Quickly check, we're still standing, okay. Seatbelts and no smoking on. Other lights as needed. Barometric value check local QNH. Yeah, pitot heat 1 and 2 on. Left fuel pump boost on, right fuel pump boost on, avionics master switch is on, the inverter switch is on this side. It's a little bit hidden. Oh no. Yeah, you have to be, yeah, okay. Inverter switch on, nav source we have set. Heading back is set, 072. Autopilot altitude set. Flight level 140. Lights as required, radios as required. Oh, by the way, (109.50). That's actually correct. Yeah, we can also set the course. 272. In case we want to come back, which we don't. Radios as required. Pre-flight flight plan check discontinuities removed. Yeah, we've done that. I mean, we only have this little GPS here. Taxi lights on. Nav lights on. Transponder standby. Transponder is over here. Give it 1 notch to be in standby mode. And now, depending in VATSIM nowadays, when you start taxiing, you should actually Okay. So we're still in standby mode, so I would turn it on now. Transponder code set, radar on. It's the weather radar. Cabin temperature mode as required, and annunciator panel is okay. So we are still in beta. So you need to bring up your throttle levers so that these lights go out. Nose wheel steering is activated, and that's the window heat which is active. Flight controls check. Oh yeah, it could be that I did not. Yeah, I forgot my rudder pedals. I didn't go through my video making checklist today. Always when I start the PC fresh, I need to unplug and plug them in again, and then my rudders are there. Okay, flight control elevator full forward. Flight elevator full back. Aileron full left. Aileron full right. Ailerons full left. Ailerons full right. Flight controls rudder full left. Flight controls rudder full right. That was the flight controls check, and so we're now ready to go to the yeah, so question is where are we actually? Yeah, okay, we need to turn. So I think I'll roll forward and then kind of taxi out straight to the left then. Parking brake is off. And what you will realize is that it will accelerate quite quickly, so be aware of that. I did kind of tweak a little bit on my version so that it's less pronounced, but yeah, it still is quite happy to start rolling. So you need to be aware of that. So we now need to find the, I think it's here, mic. Yeah. I think we need to go here. Yep. So now let's see, where are we? I think we are... Is this Kilo over there? I'm a bit confused, hang on. I lost my way here. Go to VFR sectional. Just quickly give it... Aha, okay, that's what I thought. No, we need to go right here and travel towards Kilo. I want to use the whole runway. Okay, so... Yep, we'll just... travel along here. And look at this vertical speed versus velocity, so speed versus vertical speed, which shows you when your vertical speed is in the green area, approach, and if you're too slow. So this is something that indicates an upcoming stall or something. It's quite a nice thing. Oops, no, I think we are fine. Should be a junction. Yeah, here it is. Kilo. Yep, that's it. Yeah, I think my modifications did it well. It's not like a Porsche anymore. I mean, you still have to be a bit aware, and sometimes a tap on the brakes will have to be done. But yeah, and also the brakes. Yeah, I think that's all working quite well. So let's stop here for the moment. Flight instruments. Check. Bleeds off. Trim set for takeoff. Okay. Let's see. I'll bring it into this takeoff thing. I'm not sure when that's correct. I don't know what the logic in the checklist is for that. Yeah, I tell you what, roughly in the middle. So, propeller levers fully forward. I'm moving the propeller levers fully forward. The landing lights do come on now. Landing lights and recognition lights. Strobe, nav and strobe. Taxi lights off. Water injection as required. I'm not sure how that water injection stuff works, so I haven't used it yet. There is a switch actually for that somewhere here. Water injection pump. I think you can turn it off, but I wouldn't know how or when you're supposed to do this. Caution checked and considered. Yeah, still a little bit here, the beta, but that's okay. We are in ground idle. Next is the after takeoff checklist. So let's roll onto the runway. The sound from FLT Sim Plus, I think they're called, is actually quite nice. It's much better than the sound that comes with the aircraft, and also better than an Fmod that someone tried to improve on the sounds, but unfortunately, yeah, there were some issues with that particular Fmod. I didn't really like it that much. So I think the FLT Sim Plus, there's a free version and a Patreon version. The free version is what you hear here, and I think it's fully sufficient. We don't need that much more. And thanks to FLT Sim Plus for providing this Fmod cost-free. All right then. Now I'm on the brakes, and I slowly bring up. Yeah, so it's a little bit weird. You can see how you see here the torque is actually too high, so I'm taken back a little bit, and now I let loose. I try to stay in the green as good as possible. Whoops. And 100 knots. I pull slightly on the yoke. And here we go. Positive rate. Gear coming up. And you may actually need to use a bit of aileron or rudder trim, because it seems to be pulling a little bit. So, and I'm now trying to, oops, So I'm taking the fuel, the power of the throttle down a little bit and try to stay inside the... So you have to trim it a bit, and then I activate the autopilot, which will take over. Then I have nav mode activated, and I'm going to use vertical speed mode. Now we need to bring back the power a little bit. Vertical speed mode. Now we need to bring up the vertical speed because we have been on the descent here. You have to be careful with the speed. There's no auto throttle and you really need to watch out. Okay, so I'm trying have it around 1500, and then you need to carefully adjust your engine parameters. So I'm now, I use my mute function here, 3500, we are on 1500. Flaps I've brought in, gear is up, and I'm not 100% sure if we are actually following. I think we are on nav mode. Or maybe now it's nav mode. It's hard to say. I may have... Yeah, I think now we're on nav mode. We were on heading or roll mode or something. Oh, hang on. We need to give it more power because we have got slower again. There's no... Officially there's no IAS mode or any of that. So you need to really watch out for your speed. Yeah, looks like we are on nav mode now. There is no indication, unfortunately, because this is such a simplified autopilot. You only have autopilot on, and the rest you do kind of... So normally it would just hold the attitude, I suppose, looking at this here. So we're climbing at 1500. We have to try and stay engine-wise on healthy green areas like this. And you can also use the RPM levers to relax a bit the load, but yeah, again, I can't tell you really what you should do here. Yeah, you can see we're now nicely here on the course line, climbing out towards Abtal. We're on standard anyway. Okay, now let's go through this. Gear up, flaps up, nose wheel steering off. Power 630 EGT. Well, I can try, because it actually means that we have to increase, because we're not quite at 630, we are around 600. But we should be close to that red bar according to this here. So I leave everything as it is. I just watch out that we don't hit any of the... that we don't get outside the green areas for any of the indications here, even if we're not exactly on 630. Autopilot on at 200 AGL, we have done that already. Localizer engaged as required. Yeah, cabin altitude and pressure set. Propeller sync on. Okay, so where was that propeller sync? Yeah, the propeller sink. Where was it? Where was it? The prop sink. I remember I had to look for that switch. Prop sink. Prop the eyes. Prop sink, prop sink, prop sink. Where was that? Lead air valve, cross flow test, fuel bypass. Again, I can't remember what it is. Prop sink, prop sink. Power, water, hydraulics, rudder trim. Where are we? 10,000. If you want thing turn off, you have to click on the little off marker. So in this case, I want it to be down. So this is flying quite nicely here with the autopilot. Where is that? I can't remember if I actually did find it the last time. Bleed air. And I'm pretty sure you have already seen it, but you know how it is, yeah? You simply don't see it. This is always no. That's the P2 heat, voltage, anti-skid, start mode, park level, start test cabin. I can't remember. So let's fly without prop sync for the moment until I remember where it is. Let me see here. Oh, by the way, let's turn on the bleed as well, because otherwise we'll all be gasping for air, if not already. The propeller sink. I keep having to look for the propeller sink in almost all turboprop. Control lock. Ah, there it is. You just need to... There it is, and you need to find... Here. Oh, I knew it was somewhere. Water injection is off. Left fuel boost pump off. Landing lights off, anti-ice modes as required. Cruise checklist, we're not quite there yet. Yes, we are actually. Oh, now I need to check our speed. Yeah, it's slowly increasing, so I let it increase a bit more. Seatbelt signs, we can turn off now. Prop control adjust green band. So we are all in the green band. Yeah, everything is okay. That's important, that everything is in the green. Isn't that a nice add-on? I can't get over this. Yes, it was a bit of work to get it to all this, but even the base model that comes for XP11 is already great. So most of it is in the XP11 original package. And then I added a little bit of sound, a little bit of this, and made it a bit more XP12 amenable. Absolutely fantastic. The only other Metroliner that comes close to this is in FSX, or was in FSX. Wouldn't work in prepared version 5. So I'm actually quite happy that we have a Metroliner in X-Plane. Fantastic. So we've reached Abtal. We're now turning towards the right. Now let's quickly check here. So Magat, we have 61. When we are around 30 miles, then we're going to descend. Very good. Let's see if I can change the course towards 080. Yeah, course for our ILS approach. Let's also quickly check that the nav1 is 109.5. That's correct. Yeah, and so we've stabilized now on about 210 knots. Again, I'm not 100% sure if this is the correct airspeed for this altitude. By the way, here are some numbers. Maximum operating speed is 248 knots. The maneuvering speed is 186. Minimum control speed is 86. Maximum flap extension is 180. Nope, hang on. So 186, minimum control speed 86, maximum flap extension 166 with full flaps, 180 with half flaps, 215 with a quarter flaps, and maximum landing gear speed in transition 176, so we need to be down to about 170 and extended as well. Single engine best rate of climb is 135, two engine best rate of climb is 150. Yeah, so even if this is not completely realistic, I think that tweaking also in the PlaneMaker, this actually feels quite stable now. So I'm not sure again how realistic it really is, if this is the correct numbers. And look at the speed tape. I can always say Freeware, right? It has changed because we have used fuel, right? And now it gives me the VREF is 121 with up flaps, and we're going to land with full flaps, so it's 108 knots VREF plus 5, so about 113 for the approach. Yeah, by the way, this is one of the effects. I haven't done the passenger windows yet. It's one of these effects that I had to counteract by taking out the glass. You see, this is looking really strange. If you look out my modified windows, then you see all the weather. When you look at the passenger window, you see this. So I will probably also modify this part. .44 miles. That's amazing. I really like it. So with the current settings, we've stabilized engines all in the green band, speed 210. So I think this is great. It's really great. We have a radar altitude instrument here. So we are 49 miles now from the ILS. .39 miles from Magat. So in range check, seatbelts and no smoking on. Yeah, we're going to bring down, so let's dial our goal here of 5,000 feet. Anti-ice not required, window heat is still on high, landing data check, we've done that already, so we know it's 113 for our approach speed with full flaps, and approach briefing is completed. So I'm now going to I'm now going to use the pitch mode to begin, but yeah, I think I need to activate the vertical speed mode, and now I can use the pitch, and I need to bring back the power. And I'm pitching for about 1,500 feet roughly. So I need to try and stabilize the speed. Oh, we have rain. How come we have rain? Oh, have I got real weather? Nope. Shouldn't we have rain? Interesting. So descent 10,000 feet checklist, anti-ice. It's okay. Nav display set for approach. The nav displays. I'm not sure what it means, but yeah, I think the autopilot is still on GPS, but as usual, some miles before we hit Magat, I will switch into heading mode, and then I'll switch to VOR lock, and then we can activate the approach. Nav display set for approach, landing lights on at flight level 100. I'm going to turn it on right now. HSI source nav, not yet, that's too early. At transition level, local QNH set. Approach reviewed, nav 8 radio set, course is set. Yeah, nav 8 radio is set, course is set. That's all fine. And then comes the before landing checklist. So we are below 10,000. Uh, 18 miles to Magat, so that should be quite okay for our descent. We've got a bit fast now, or faster, so let's reduce the power. By the way, so where's the lights? Internal lights, landing lights. So I'm quickly going to switch into the dark. This is what this looks in the dark. It's quite nice, and then there are several ways to kind of dim or brighten the lights. By the way, we have about 45 frames per second, so this is really easy on the frames as well. I'm now going to reduce the power because we need to start slowing down a bit. I'm now going to switch into heading mode. Mode on. And now I've turned over to VLOG Nav1 mode so that we can activate or arm the approach. By the way, you can see autopilot modes, I think, down here. Yeah, it shows you autopilot modes. I'm not sure how realistic that really is, but here you can see now that we have approach mode armed. So I'm now below the maneuvering speed, about 170, so that we can then start bringing out flaps and gear. 5,000. Localizer should be starting to move any moment. Watch out for the speed at this point. I'm bringing the RPM forward again. During the transition, the speed will actually go down a bit. Yep, almost at Magat, which would be starting the turn any moment, and then the autopilot, the approach mode will take over. Localizer is alive. Approach mode, localizer, glide slope have taken over. I can't see... Oh yeah, there's the glide slope. Okay, we are slightly under the glide slope, which is fine. And we have actually started to descend on the glide slope. And the localizer appears captured. Very good. Oops, we got a little bit fast. Need to bring back the power. There's no speed brake, so you need to work with the power, but it's not a big problem to slow down this aircraft. So I'm bringing it now into the wideband, and then we can start the flaps first setting. Flaps 1. Keep an eye on the speed. Seven miles, flaps, or a quarter, then half. Seven miles, gear down. Again, watch the speed. Also check again, so we set 113 is our approach speed. Next stage of flaps. I think I'm now full. Yeah, we are now flaps full. And I let the aircraft approach the approach speed. Just be careful here now, because you don't really want to get into a stall. Okay, let's quickly check the landing checklist. Props sync off. It's actually very difficult to get to this switch due to the flaps as required. Yes, left fuel boost pump on, and so the fuel pump, where was it? Oh, down here. Just be careful that you don't navigate set. This is a far too long checklist. X-speed approach, no sweep steering off. Yeah, autopilot off. Okay, let's get landing here. Autopilot is off. There was no sound, just realized. Trimming and all cannot be heard. We're a little bit on the flat side. Okay. They are quite effective, that reverse. You don't need much of it. We're now in beta mode, and okay, the landing wasn't the greatest. Oops. Now I can't steer. That's because we now need... Ah! Oops. Yeah, now I can steer. Oops. That's a dangerous switch. I should have probably turned it on when we were off the runway. Almost. Almost. Dear passengers, sorry for that. Okay, let's bring in the flaps and strobes off, landing lights off, taxi light on. After landing checklist and transponder standby. Okay. Next is the shutdown checklist. So let's travel to our parking position. Yeah, and because this aircraft isn't that fast and can decelerate pretty quickly, we are very close to our exit here. So there's not much we have to travel back. And we can see the usual flicker. One day this will be over and we'll get a proper anti-aliasing, but not today. Okay, so let's whoa! I think I need to tweak a bit more because we seem to have some strange effects when I'm using the brakes. The aircraft tends to kind of put the backside on the ground, so that's definitely not what I would expect. Okay. Parking brake is set. And now we can go through the shutdown checklist. Nose wheel steering off. Left fuel pumps off. External power connected. Fuel shutoffs closed. The fuel shutoffs are fuel shutoffs. Is it that there? Fuel shutoffs closed. I know. Fuel shut off closed. Okay. Down here. Taxi lights off. Pitot heat off. Window heat off. Bleeds off. Engine generators off. Beacon light off. Doors open. Well, maybe not yet. Avionics off. Yeah, that's a bit difficult. Oops. Yeah. I think I need another view here. Let's do another view on this side. Avionics master off. Inverter switch off. And battery left and right. I wonder, is it off now, the engines, or are they still... Engines stop, and I think we need to pull these out. Yeah, that's it. Okie dokie, and then we can open the main door and the baggage and cargo doors. There we go, and you can see even bags in here. Isn't that fantastic? And finally, we are going to turn the batteries off. And that's the shutdown checklist completed. Okay, so here, fantastic little freeware. Not so little, it's actually quite a great one. It's everything you need in this aircraft. In XP12, I think I'm not quite there yet. There's still some areas where I need to try and tweak it a wee bit so that we don't get like nose pulling up, pulling the brakes or something. You know, that's so I'll be working on this, but I think this is already a fantastic freeware, and in XP12 very soon I'm pretty sure we're going to have it working well as we need it. You see the propellers, they're still turning. Why? What's going on here? All right. Propellers are still turning, and it's really a great looking piece here. So I can only say thanks to Starvingpilot and also all the other modders that contributed to this project. You can find almost all the files on flightsim.com. I'm going to put the links also in the description. And in the end, I will probably have a completely modded XP12 package, which contains also the Avitab and Fmod options, probably to be downloaded then on my GitHub when I'm finished. At the moment, I'm not yet completely done with this. And you can find all these liveries here, like the Pen Air and many others, already on forum flightsim.com. There is not FlightSim. Yeah, on the explain.org. The forum explain.org. We're not on FlightSim. I'm getting mixed up with all these simulators here. Okay, fantastic aircraft. Hope that was interesting, and until next time.